Well, welcome along to the Timeform Sporting Life Weekend Best Bets. David Ord joined by Matt Brocklebank and Ben Linfoot for Super Saturday. Ben Linfoot, is it a Saturday that you think is super?
It is super, isn't it? There's racing everywhere you look at Chester and Ascot and York and Newmarket, and loads of cups to have a go at, and you can't fail to find at least a few bets this weekend.
Let's start with the Timeform ratings then for the My Pension Expert July Cup. One for the 3-year-olds, according to the number crunchers. Inisherin 130p, £3 clear of Regional on 127, Carden 126, Kinross 126, Van Dijk 126. So the 3-year-old, improving 3-year-old with a bit in hand, Scoop, game over, job done, simples.
Well, it appears so, doesn't it, on the face of it? I think they are a good bunch of sprinting 3-year-olds, aren't they? And Inisherin, from what we've seen this season, is the pick of the bunch, because since the 2000 Guineas, he's just dropped back in trip and looked a bit of a potential superstar in the sphere. And we will find that out on Saturday on his first crack at the older horses, but I do think he's very much a worthy favourite, and trying to find holes in his chance isn't that easy.
Matt, we've got video footage of Inisherin. It's not from Royal Ascot, it's from Haydock in the Sandy Lane Stakes. This is a pivotal race, this. Here he is winning, beating Van Dijk, who bombed out as a short price favourite that day. What are you expecting from Van Dijk this time around?
Yeah, well, as you say, it was a bit of a coming-of-age performance for Inisherin, the favourite. Well, Van Dijk was favourite on this day at Haydock, but yeah, interesting one with him. It's a bit of a strange one, I think, with Van Dijk, because I'm sure that some of the Simon and Ed Crisford horses were under the weather, weren't they, at the time? Now, if you actually look at the sort of a brief look at the facts around that, it's a bit skewed, I think, because their strike rate throughout May was actually quite good, 23%. They were having winners, but this run here for Van Dijk came at the back end of that. And if you look at June, they were definitely under a cloud, 3 from 36 at 8% in June. So, and obviously connections of Van Dijk have come out and said that his bloods weren't right going into Royal Ascot, which is a race that they skipped. But reports from Newmarket are really, really positive about this horse now. I think they sound quite bullish about him coming into it. So he has to be respected. He did the same double as Dream Ahead before he won this race. He won the Morney and the Middle Park as a 2-year-old. So he's got some real raw talent, and hopefully they'll be hoping that he can realise that potential at the weekend.
Scoop, it's a race littered over the years with horses dropping back in trip to win the July Cup. Ajdal famously from 1.5 miles in the Derby to win the July Cup on his next start. River Tiber not going that far back, but he's dropping back into it. You wrote a piece early in the week about him. We've got video footage of him here at the Curragh in the Irish Guineas. What are you going to make of River Tiber's chances on Saturday?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the trip droppers, and obviously Aidan O'Brien's done it with Stravinsky and Mozart and US Navy Flag in this race, and a couple of those were dropping from the Jersey, and that's the race that River Tiber ran in last time. This race here at the Curragh, when he was beaten by Rosalie and Hartem, it looks at a fantastic piece of form. Obviously, both of those horses coming out and winning at Royal Ascot, and you watch River Tiber this day on his seasonal reappearance, and you just think there's a Group 1 winner at some stage this season. Where's it going to be? Obviously, he dropped to 7 in the Jersey. It didn't work out for him. I think he had excuses that day. I think he was possibly drawn on the wrong side, and I'm happy to put a line through that run. He was sent off 13-8 as if he couldn't get beaten, and he was beaten 5 lengths in 8th, but I think he's much better than that, as he suggested at the Curragh, and perhaps the trip is a big thing for him. Perhaps 6 furlongs is going to unlock the real River Tiber, and if it does, he's got a chance, but there's quite a few in here with a chance.
I'm just a bit worried about the trip with him. They thought he wanted a bit further as a 2-year-old. They go further back down. It's whether there's going to actually be an idea. We'll find out.
There's plenty of O'Brien horses that have dropped in trip and failed as well. I think he's had 11 goes with losers in the July Cup dropping back, as well as the 3 winners.
Matt, let's have a look at the Timeform pace map for the July Cup. Lots of quick horses. Plenty of who are going to want to go forward. And is this a race where you do want to be sitting handy?
I think so, yeah, and I think River Tiber will be among those. If you look at Ryan Moore, the way that he sort of won on 10 sovereigns, just grabbed the race by the scruff of the neck, and I can see River Tiber really going for it with 2.5, 3 furlongs to go. So he's an interesting one, definitely. Interesting thing to point out, I think, with this race as well, is that it is... You look at the stiff 6 furlongs at Ascot. Now, a race like the Commonwealth Cup, that tends to take a minute and 12 seconds, minute and 13 thereabouts, which is kind of roughly on a par with the sort of times needed to win a Haydock Sprint Cup on the deeper ground at Haydock at the end of the season. Whereas the July Cup is it's 6 of the last 10 runnings have been won in less than a minute and 10 seconds. So it is a considerably quicker test. Now, Shaquille was up to it last year. He run 1:13 and a little bit in the Commonwealth Cup, and then 1:11 when following up at Newmarket. So it can be done. We're only talking about small margins here, but I think it has to be stated that Inisherin, a horse that we touched on as being clear at the top of the ratings from Timeform, he's going to have to be much quicker than he's ever run before. Now, obviously, he's unexposed over 6 furlongs in general, having run over a mile at the start of his career, but his Commonwealth Cup was a minute and 12:51, so nearly a minute and 13, and then the Haydock win prior to that was similar, minute and 12:77. So he's going to have to shave off a couple of seconds in terms of the raw data when it comes to him sort of following up and proving his speed.
If you're going to get Inisherin B, it's going to be by a 5 furlong horse, a speed horse that can perhaps do those sectionals that he's never done before.
What about the older gunslingers then? We've got 1 or 2 in there. You can tell Andy McLaren's in the gallery behind us. We've got video footage here, Scoop, from the Greenland set. He famously put up the winner on Sport. I was very sweet on it that day. Our focus is on Regional, who runs a cracker in second in this race. Is he the pick of the older horses?
He could be, and just touching on that point I just made about potentially having a speedy horse in against Inisherin, maybe Regional is that horse, because he has got the speed for 5 furlongs. He ran well in a Nunthorpe. He's won over 5 at Haydock in a listed race, and I think he is the one that might have the speed if it comes down to that. He's run 2 really good races this season behind Mick Bahi in the Greenland Stakes, as we've just seen, and again last time out in the King Charles III behind Asfura when second, again over 5 furlongs. So this speedy 6 on the July course might just suit him.
He's developed into like a tough, consistent sprinter as well, hasn't he? So if you're looking at these 3-year-olds and taking a chance on like a River Tiber at 7-8 to 1, Regional, is he a similar sort of price?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's about the right price, but if it turns into, something won by a pacey horse, I think he could be the one.
Selection time then. Is he your Scoop? Are you going Regional?
No, I just think he's about the right price, and I think the 3-year-olds, they could be the ones getting the weight allowance, but I think the market's found them, and I prefer Millstream. I think he's got a similar chance to Regional, yet he's 4 or 5 points bigger in the market, and he is one of those horses that's clocked a 1:10 at York on a speedy track in the Duke of York Stakes earlier in the season, and I just think the stiff finish on the July course just down the road from his stables might suit him well. He's obviously run on the course well a couple of times, and when he was beaten at Royal Ascot, I thought he was beaten by a couple of Ascot specialists. I thought it was a really good run. I think we'll see an even better Millstream on Saturday, and at the prices, he's the one that I've come down on.
Matt, your selection?
I've been lured in by some of these quotes around Van Dijk this week. I think the Chrisfords really think he's back to his best. That makes him a massive player here. He is well found in the market. It's probably a no-bet race for me. Just one final one to mention at a huge price is Art Power. Now, he's been around the block. He reminds me a little bit, though, of a horse like Brando, who sort of was placed in this about 8 times in a row. He's been 4th in this race for the last 2 years. He's got the natural speed for this race. He handles a bit of juice in the ground. He's about 25 to 1. He probably won't win another Group 1 in his life, but he could finish 2nd or 3rd in a race like this.
Well, Ben and Matt have put it in their contract. They get a brief break after the big race preview. They can have that now, because coming up on Friday week, next Friday, is the first episode of a fantastic new horse racing documentary on ITV. It looks wonderful. You get a little teaser of it right here.
You're about to go 34 mile an hour into a fence.
I cannot describe the adrenaline.
This is the story of one season with millions of pounds at stake.
You name it, the jockey can break it.
1 minute you're king of the world, then the next you're face down in the dirt.
Those 6-7 minutes that a race is on, nothing else matters.
There you go. Can't wait for that Champions Full Gallop to hit the screens on Friday. Well, next Friday. We've recorded this Friday. Looks a fantastic programme. Let's get back to Super Saturday, though. John Smith's Cup at York, one of the great betting races of the season. We've got the Timeform ratings graphic to go at here, Ben. Look, it's a competitive handicap as always. Anything surprise you with those numbers?
No, it's a tight-knit handicap as you would expect, and Epic Poet has found his way to the top of the ratings. He's a horse in focus as well. You can see why after his effort over 1.5 miles at Royal Ascot, drops back to 10 furlongs here, that he's run over the course and distance earlier in the season. Enfjar for Roger Varian, another obvious one towards the top of the ratings. He looks a progressive 4-year-old, good win last time out at Chelmsford. So no surprises. It's just another difficult race to unravel, isn't it? With so many horses with chances in there.
My Epic Poet, very low mileage for the O'Mara team, and he's also running a John Smith. He could easily turn up in a Sky but Eva as well. It's a fascinating project for them.
Yeah, he seems versatile. Definitely a project. He's got some really classy form in France, hasn't he? Placed in group and listed races over there for previous connections, and has made a really good start for O'Meara. He's actually the best handicapped horse in this race from a factual point of view. He's £3 well in on the back of that excellent second from off the pace in the Duke of Edinburgh. Now, the pace did collapse a fair bit, but it was a fantastic run. It's always a strong race. It works out generally, that race, the Duke of Edinburgh. It's a bit harder maybe to pass a whole bunch of horses on that York Straight as well when they can quicken up 3 furlongs to go. So I'm not sure there's going to be a full-on pace collapse in him staying on, because he is down 2 furlongs in trip. So yeah, his chances are there for all to see from a handicapping point of view, but I think there's enough to take him on at single figure price.
Got a video clue to watch now, Ben. It's Haunted Dream in action at Epsom. Is the fact that you put this on the running order a nod to the fact you think the horse is going to run well?
Not particularly.
Oh.
No, it's just a key form race, because we're watching Haunted Dream now, the grey coming down the outside, but right at the start of this race it looked like his chance had gone. The horse wasn't just on his nose. I think James Doyle was on his nose as well. He stumbled that badly coming out of the stalls, but he did well to recover and run a really good race in 4th down the outside. You can see Liberty Lane in the yellow colours. He got absolutely no run whatsoever in the straight, and you can see why these two horses have made the way towards the top of the market. I think of the two, I prefer Liberty Lane. He was a very good winner of the Suffolk Handicap at Newmarket earlier in the season. He just looks like a group horse to me, still progressing through the grades, and you can just put a line through that Epsom run, because as you can see, he just got no run whatsoever. Haunted Dream came out and ran really well in the Wolverton, second behind Isra, and is a player as well. And yeah, you can see why punters have latched onto these two.
Matt, let's have a look at the pace, Matt. It's, as you would expect, a very competitive handicap. The one thing with the draw and the round course at York, usually you want it to be low. You had to be low on the round course. Nowadays, it just seems to be, well, I don't know. It seems to be a case of you can just about win from anywhere.
You can. Recent evidence suggests low is still good. 7 of the last 10 have been drawn in 10 or below. That includes winners from stalls 1, 1, 2 and 3. So I prefer those drawn low. I know, as you say, there is pace out wide, and they can use up a little bit of gas, can't they, to get out and get across. But I expect the likes of Loyal Touch and Killebeg's Warrior. There's Hugo Palmer's horse as well, the consistent box to box. I suspect he won't be too far off the pace either. But as I say, I do prefer those drawn low. I think we've got some quite strong fancies down on the inside as well. Hopefully they can sort of sit in and get a reasonable sort of mid-pack sit from there and not get too boxed in early on.
Go on then, Scoop. What's the main Linfoot fancy for the John Smith Cup?
I like Remard for William Haggis, number 18, the 3-year-old in the race. Now, you don't see many 3-year-olds in the John Smith Cup these days, because it's difficult for them to get in. But they've got a good record when they do get in, and obviously William Haggis, good record in the race and fabulous record at York. And talking of group horses in handicaps, I think we've definitely got one here. I mean, he was close up behind Al Musmak, Matt's 2-pointer from the other day, last season, and he's got good form everywhere you look, really, beaten by Arabian Crown at Sandown earlier in the season. And Tom Marquand came off him that day and thought, let's drop in trip for the Heron Stakes. Didn't work out. William Haggis always thought he's a middle distance horse. Interesting that he's back up to 10 furlongs here, and he just has the look of a well handicapped horse who will thrive over a strongly run 10 furlongs, which is exactly what he's going to get here. So Remard for me for William Haggis.
Remard for Ben. Matt?
Yeah, it's a fantastic race. You're getting double figure prices about some really quality horses here. Some exciting horses as well. I think Scoop might have underplayed this Enfjar a little bit. I'm really excited by him. I was blown away by that comeback win at Chelmsford. Dead impressive. He had loads in hand that day. massive improver with the hood back on. Incidentally, he actually wore a hood on his 2-year-old debut in October 2022, and it came on for the first time since when coming to win on his reappearance at Chelmsford there. He's gone up £5. He carries the £5 penalty, so he's basically running off his revised mark. Gelding him, like I say, with the hood back on, it's really sparked a lot of improvement. Roger Veron in good form. He's drawn low. Loads to like about him. He looks another group horse in a handicap. Ran him in a Jersey last year. There's
a few of those in here, I think.
Yeah, it was too quick when he ran in Royal Ascot last year, but this weather this week is probably looking absolutely ideal for Entjar. I think he has an outstanding chance.
Great stuff. 2 strong fancies in the John Smith Cup there. Now it's a feast of races. There must be 80, 90 races to have a go at. And between them, their best bets are in the same race and a different horse. Matt, you can go first. You can make the case for the defence here.
Good, that, isn't it? It's, you know,
what are we doing?
You would think with Planet, you know.
Yeah. Who does the running order? Oh, sorry, Scoop.
Yeah.
Matt, make the case. What's your selection and why?
It's in the 140. Mine is in the 145 at Ascot. Sprint handicap, another really competitive handicap on the day. But I like Badri, who was second in the race last year. He had a phenomenal time of things last year. Started off with Ruth Carr, then was with the Camachos. He won 5 times last year, but he's come down in the weights, only on the back of like 4 or 5 defeats. He actually showed a fair bit more spark last time, I thought, at Epsom from off the pace. I'm still not absolutely convinced he loves Epsom, despite the fact he won that very same race last summer. He somehow, the pace completely collapsed and he won it last year. But he showed up quite well from off the pace there last time. And he's £4 lower than when runner-up in the race last year. Beat that, Scoop.
Dance off.
Well, mine's a bit of an old favourite, Al Bashir for Archie Watson. And he's just really unexposed at 5 furlongs, and I think it could be his trip on a track like Ascot. He's rated £10 lower than he is on the all-weather, and he has become a bit of a Newcastle specialist, but he's got loads of good turf form. He won at York in the summer of last year, and I just think a really strongly run 5 on a stiff track is exactly what he wants. He was well beaten last time at Newcastle, but he was pestered on the lead, and Holly Doyle went too soon to the front, and everything went a bit wrong for him. But I think just riding in with a bit more restraint on Saturday, back down in trip, we might see the best of him. So I'm going to go for Al Bashir against Matt at around 14 to 1.
Dead heat at York one year. Was that last year?
Yeah, it was with Summergand, I think. Yeah, against Summergand.
Strong travelling horse.
Yeah.
The complete trouble. Richard Fahey in his column thinks that Vintage Claret's going to run a huge race in that as well. £1 lower than when third last year.
Price.
40, 50 to 1 chance. So there you go. You have 3 selections for the first race at Ascot. There's our thoughts then on Super Saturday. So much we didn't get a chance to have a look at the Bunbury Cup, etc. It's that sort of afternoon. And best of luck with your own weekend wagers.